right, let's get going on this Tuesday evening. It's weather for Weather Geeks time. This is the Valley's most in-depth weather forecast video. It turned out to be a pretty nice day today after kind of a cloudy start. It was a warm but less humid afternoon today. Before we get to today's weather, I want to recap the month of September. I've been talking about this in previous Weather Geeks videos. September's been probably, I haven't looked at the numbers completely, but I suspect September's been the warmest month compared to average of any month of the year over the last 4 or 5 years. February is up there as well. We had some really cold Februarys back in like 2014, 2015, but over the last few years, February has also been quite warm. But look at these this September map from 2015 through last year. Lots of red across the U.S. Only the Pacific Northwest have had generally cooler than average Septembers going through last year. Here's a look at this September's map compared to the average. Only areas near the U.S.-Canadian border, pretty much, and a few spots out in the west, have seen a cooler than average September. Everywhere else, it has been a toasty one, a continuation of summer. So the trend continues, and I don't see the trend changing anytime real soon. We'll talk about the longer range in just a second. All right, it was dry today. Again, beautiful afternoon. Much like the last 4, 5, even 6 weeks, northern areas have been quite a bit wetter in September than southern areas. Anywhere that's in the green here has had less than 2 inches worth of rain so far in September. In places such as Newton Falls, 5, 6 inches worth of rain, fairly common. At the airport, we've had over 4. And a lot of Trumbull and Mercer counties, I should say, have been between 2 and 5 inches worth of rain. This is important when we start talking about fall foliage. I'm starting to get some questions on social media about this year's foliage and how the weather may or may not influence the foliage this year. Just as a reminder, summer ends and fall officially begins. Astronomical fall. Early next week on the 23rd, that is Monday morning in the wee hours of the morning at 3:50 a.m., fall will get underway in the northern hemisphere. All right, why do the leaves change color? Well, it's a little basic 4th grade chemistry here, with chlorophyll being the main driver of the change. As the days get shorter and we get less incoming sunlight, the chlorophyll starts to be depleted, allowing other pigments other than green to start showing up, and that means we see the reds and the oranges. And last year's colors were not great. We have a couple things to blame for that. Last September was very warm. It was also very wet. We had the wettest September on record last year, and summer really didn't break until the first week of October. It was around the 10th of October that finally the pattern went into more of a typical fall pattern after a very warm September and a very warm first 10 days of October. So the colors weren't great last year. This year we've got the warmth again, but we don't have the wet weather that we had last September. We also have some cool nights coming up with low temperatures in the 50s. So I think this year's colors are going to be better. I'm a little bit worried about how much warmth there's likely to be, though, as we go through the next couple of weeks, and that could mute some of our peak colors this year, kind of like last year. Although, again, I think this year's colors will be better than last year. If you've lived around here for a long time, you know that, of course, our peak colors typically occur around the middle of October, usually somewhere between the 15th and Halloween. Some years it's towards the later side, like last year. Even though the colors were muted, we did, of course, have a peak last year, and it was very late in October, even into the first few days of November last year. We may have a late peak this year, maybe towards the very end of October, that our colors truly peak because of the warm weather that's in our forecast. All right, so we've got about 25 minutes to go until sunset. I'm recording this video at 7:04. It is warm. It is beautiful outside. Hardly a cloud in the sky as we get set for sunset this evening on our ServPro weather camera in Youngstown. By the way, this evening's sunset will occur at 7:29, meaning it's before 7:30, and it's been 186 days since March, really, since we've had a sunset earlier than 7:30 p.m. So 7:29, our sunset time this evening. We did actually have a little bit of a weather surprise early this morning, a little bit of an inversion set up, trapping some low-level moisture, stratocumulus clouds early in the day today. Weren't really expected, but they did break up pretty nicely, and of course it turned out to be a great lunchtime and afternoon today as those clouds continued to thin. It was fantastic. It wasn't so fantastic, though, 15 years ago today as the remnants of Hurricane Ivan moved through the region. Now, at the Youngstown Warren Airport, during the calendar day of the 17th of September 2004, we had 1.68. We had about a half an inch on the 16th, so a 2-day total up over 2 inches. But that was at the Youngstown Warren Airport in Vienna. As you went farther south, the rainfall totals got more and more impressive and quite a bit higher and more impactful Pittsburgh had pretty close to 6 inches worth of rain and a lot of flooding problems from Ivan back on this date in 2004, and some of those higher amounts bled up into Columbiana County, Lawrence County, and Beaver County, Pennsylvania as well. All right, Chamber of Commerce weather the next few days with high pressure sneaking down the eastern seaboard, nice easterly flow, dry air. I mean, it's just going to be perfect. A little bit warm for this time of the year. Maybe a few fair weather clouds on Friday, but still going to be a nice day Friday and a nice evening for high school football. The dew points rock bottom over the next few days, not a story at all. We got a little bit of muggy air heading our way this weekend. I kind of suspect the model here is overdoing the dew points on Saturday. I think the higher dew point day may actually be on Sunday. And nonetheless, it's just kind of a one-day deal. We're talking drier air returning early next week. Not unusual in the middle of September for the humidity to be mostly a non-story with just the occasional spike in those dew points. We're not in July anymore, that is for sure. All right, if you're coming downtown on Saturday, of course, Blake Shelton playing at Stambaugh Stadium Saturday evening. Why live? It is going to be like midsummer, 80 degrees at 7 p.m. as the sun gets set to go down, and by late evening, still well up into the 60s, so you do not need any sort of heavy jacket if you're heading downtown on Saturday. And I showed you this map yesterday. It hasn't really changed since yesterday. It is still looking toasty in the longer range, and you know, looking at the longer range, this pattern may not break until well into October. It may be even longer than last year for summer to break. Last year's summer broke really around the 10th of October. If you believe some of the modeling, it may be until mid-October until we start to see pronounced cooler weather, more than just a one-day, two-day shot, more of a seasonal shift in terms of the sensible weather may not occur until at least mid-October, if some of the longer range modeling is to be believed. That'll do it for tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. Thanks as always for watching, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow night, same time, same place.